Ms. Priscilla Wong, Ms. Ronick Chen, and Mr. Daniel Mui. Let's have a photo call with the working report.
方正前方嘅方向。OK， 咁
介唔介意3位咧褪後一步咧，個光會靚啲啊？係
好，唔該。
唔該唔該。
好，而家我哋或者請3位可以望一去大家嘅右手邊。
Let's turn to the left.
好，咁我哋再請3位望去左邊。好，唔該晒3位。
Thank you very much. Chairman Wong, friends of the media, we're here to review the work of the IPCC for 2023 to 24. We've endorsed 1,631 reportable complaints, involving 2,318 allegations, up by 5%, mainly involving traffic enforcement and stop and search, minor offenses, minor cases like misconduct and unauthorized use of authority, taking up 93% of the total number of complaints. On the 1st of March 2021, the government withdrew the face mask order. As I said, with the economy, the community coming back, the number of complaints might increase. Now, this is borne out by the numbers. Dr. Danny Chen will be briefing you on the other numbers in the report. From the report, now we use a yacht as the cover. This is a vessel sailing in the sea. We have to maintain balance. The IPCC's work, just like sailing in the sea, will have to be steady and stable, balancing all manner of evidence. In the process, the IPCC will be evidence-based and fact-based, and we are operating under the sun. When vetting each and every case, and IPCC will be abiding by the principle of impartiality to administer justice for the complaint and the complainant. In the course of vetting the cases, we will identify the areas where improvement should be made to minimize unnecessary complaints and to make sure that the complaint system would be impartial and fair. This year, the IPCC made 20 recommendations of SQIIs. Other than traffic enforcement and police equipment, the SQIIs also cover the needs of different segments in the community. One of the SQIIs is to enhance the police's ability to identify the MIP, mentally incapacitated persons. We like to see an increase in sensitivity. And the police should use video recording when taking statement from the mentally incapacitated people to safeguard their interests. Also, the CAPO and IPCC confirm that IR process informal resolution. This process will raise the speed and efficiency and also the quality, and thus diverting the resources to more important cases and to implement the SQIIs. Later on, the SG, Mr. Daniel Boy, will be briefing you on the SQIIs in the report. Recently, the police have to tackle the day-to-day work and also the cyber crimes. And we visited ADCC recently to see for ourselves how the police are gearing up for these tasks and also the deception on the cyberspace. We try to understand also the emergency unit and also the Marine Police and also their policing work in these different areas. During Halloween, we also visited the Lan Kwai Fong to see for ourselves people's sentiment and the situation on the ground, and also the police strategies in crowd control. Going forward, we hope that we will be able to be visiting more police units to understand for ourselves the police duties and the challenges facing them, so that the IPCC would be able to look at these cases from different perspectives. In order to let members of the public know more about the IPCC, other than taking part in community activities and visiting schools, the Secretariat has put together 2 APIs outlining the SQIIs for the police and also the rights and responsibilities of the complainants. In the year ahead, we will be visiting different districts, fostering better awareness of the impartiality on the part of the IPCC. Christmas is upon us. I wish you Merry Christmas, best of health, and best of luck in your work. Mr. Chen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to report on the figures in the year 2023 and 2024. There are a lot of figures, and then if you would like to go into any one of them, we welcome questions. And in the 2023 and 2024, we received 1,617 reportable complaints. And then that is an increase compared to the year before, 40% increase. And for the reportable complaints approved it or endorsed it, recorded an increase of 15%. The number is 1,631. And then the total allegation is 2,000 some, with an increase of 5%. So there are the 2,318 allegations, and the minor allegations it consists of like 93%, and then it is negligence of duty, and there is a total number of 1,106, and of the 47.7%. The other are impolite, misconduct, use of offensive language, etc. And then it consists like 45.3% of the total allegations. For more serious allegations, including assault, unnecessary use of authorities, etc., and then it amounts to 159 cases, with the decrease compared to the years before, the 54%. And of the allegations that requires full investigation, numbered at 316. For those that did not require full investigation, the number is 2002. Of these allegations, including withdrawal and not pursuable or informally resolved. Well, the results of the investigation, those classified as a substantiated is 36, substantiated other than reported is 27, not fully substantiated is 1. That means that, well, to a certain extent, for those substantiated amounts to the 64, is about the 20% of the total of 316 that required a full investigation. Well, within the 64 cases or allegations classified as a sub or SOTR and FS, while the 51 is the neglect of duty, and the 12 is misconduct, improper manner, and there is only one serious allegation, and that is classified under unnecessary use of authority. Well, in the report this year, there are 17 cases are classified as false. Well, in the year, for the withdrawal and not pursuable are correspondingly 925 and 746. For non-consumable allegations, the major reason is because the complainant actually disappeared, and then they have not actually addressed it to the requirement by capo investigation. And then very few could not be the capacity of the police being under complaint is not being identifiable. So both Madam Chair and I myself have repeatedly in different circumstances emphasized that our complaint is a serious matter, and then we need the complainant to work with CAPO, providing enough information and to follow through the investigation. So in the future, we will continue the work in this direction and like publicity, so that the public will understand better that they have rights as well as responsibilities. And within this year, we have 97 officers that ruled under disciplinary action, and 53 received advice, and 22 have received warnings, and 4 were under disciplinary review. And then this are all considered serious punishments or actions. And also within this year, queries raised to CAPO amounts to 717. So maybe that arises from different complaints and different cases where we have queries over the categorization and then clarification, the recommendations, as well as investigation thoroughness. So that amounts to a total of 717. Among this 717, 82, in fact, actually, while were being reclassified, 49 of this cases are being classified to substantiated, or reclassified to non-fully substantiated, reclassified to no fault, and also false. That means that, at a certain percentage has been reclassified. In the 23-24, IPCC members as well as observers have completed 1,751 observation sessions. And the attendance rate is 98%. I must thank all our observers. They have hold up to the principle in impartiality and fairness, and based on evidence, so that all the investigations are handled fairly. Well, in our report, we have proposed 20 SQII to the police force, as what was mentioned by Madam Chair just now. SQII was one of the main tasks in our promotions in recent days, and that include measures to improve the service of quality in order to reduce the number of complaints. In 23 and 24, we have participated in the 42 activities and in contact of 10,000 students, teachers, and professional representatives and media. We have introduced the work of IPCC as well as SQIIs so that the public will better understand SQII. The objectives of SQII, and in doing so, we also have produced a special promotional video. We would like to share with one of this with you here. And after that, further the details will be reported by the secretary. And in the information about SQII.
監警會喺兩層架構投訴警察制度下，接收香港警務處投訴警察課呈交嘅須匯報投訴調查報告。經過嚴謹嘅審核，確保所有投訴個案得到公平公正嘅處理。監警會除咗審核同覆檢投訴，另一項重要嘅工作係喺審核投訴過程中提出警隊工作常規或程序中可改善嘅地方，並向警方提出服務質素改善建議，避免同類型投訴再發生。服務質素改善建議簡稱 SQII， 目標係帶動改變，提升警隊服務質素，減少不必要嘅投訴。監警會向警隊提出服務質素改善建議之後，會方會跟進建議點樣落實。監警會委員更加會不時去警隊不同單位了解建議落實情況。監警會過去提出嘅服務質素改善建議，涵蓋警隊運作嘅多個不同範疇，包括交通執法、警署設備提升方面、應用資訊及通訊科技，以及警方點樣處理有特別需要人士等。自2009年起，監警會已經提出咗超過240項改善建議同意見。科技日新月異，監警會亦從不同投訴個案嘅情節中揾出科技可以協助提升警隊服務質素嘅契機，並鼓勵警隊善用科技。 現時警員配備嘅隨身攝錄機同埋定額罰款通知書電子化，就係其中兩個例子。善用科技能夠協助警隊提升執法效率同準確性，亦都可以減少誤會，幫助釐清事實。隨住服務質素改善建議同意見數字年年增加，市民嘅投訴數字亦由2009至10年度接獲近4000宗，大幅下跌至近年每年約1500宗。監警會會繼續透過提出切實可行嘅服務質素改善建議，令警隊服務質素提升，減少同類型投訴發生嘅機會，從源頭減少投訴，達到治標治本嘅成效。服務質素改善建議有助警隊精益求精，鞏固監警會、警隊同市民三方之間嘅互信，以及各界對兩層架構投訴警察制度嘅信心。
Let me brief you on the SQIIs. Over the past few years, under the chairmanship of Ms. Priscilla Wong, the SQIIs represent the major direction forward. We hope that we will be able to identify areas where improvements can be made to minimize the number of complaints. In our working report, there are 5 SQIIs, starting from page 56 through to page 65. I will be briefing you the SQIIs there. First, the erroneous transfer of money, that people tend to transfer money electronically these days. Now, when making the transfer, mistakes may crop up and there may be undesirable situations. Now, when there is a mistake in the transfer, people might report this to the police. Is this really criminal in nature? The recipient of the money may not be aware that this is a transfer by mistake. Now, when you call the police, will investigation be conducted? In that case, there is a complaint lodged with the police because the person failed to get the money back. A month later, the person went to the police and there was no investigation criminally. 3 months later, the person failed to get the money back, and this time the police initiated an investigation, a criminal investigation. Now, the recipient failed to make a response now because the person has already returned to the mainland for 10 years. From that case, we have to ascertain under what circumstances would a mistaken transfer of money be regarded as a criminal case. We discussed with CAPO, and we believe that there should be some guidelines for the front line, particularly colleagues in the report rooms, so that they would be in a position to tell whether a case is of a criminal nature. That the amount is important. If there is a transfer of 1 million, it would be different from a mistaken transfer of $1. You must not be unaware of the $1 million transferred to you by mistake. And also the timing. If the mistaken transfer took place yesterday and you're calling the police today, the recipient may not have time to become aware of that. And also, under what circumstances the transfer is made by mistake? Is it between commercial premises, and what is the information there? The police have provided a lot of training to the frontline staff, making them aware of the entire process of transfer. That there is basic training and also continuous training for the frontline staff. In particular, at the police academy, this case has become a specific case to show the trainees what theft, what constitute theft. So this is the SQII that we recommend for the police officers to be more in tune with what's happening. The second SQII is to enable the frontline officers to have better sensitivity in identifying the MIPs, mentally incapacitated persons. If a police officer is dealing with an MIP as a witness or as an arrestee, what is an officer supposed to do? Under the guidelines, the officer will have to get an authorized adult, an appropriate adult, to accompany this MIP in giving evidence. Now, the reason for doing this is to safeguard the interests of the MIP because the person may not be aware of his or her rights. If it is an MIP or if someone is suspected to be an MIP, then an officer will have to arrange for an appropriate adult to accompany him or her. In our working report, there are 3 cases. The first one is there is a woman who was arrested because of an argument and some fracas with some construction workers, that she sustained some injuries, was taken to the hospital for treatment. And her daughter went to the hospital and told the police officer there that her mother is an MIP under treatment. And in the hospital, a psychiatrist was summoned to examine her. The daughter went away, and there was a shift in duty, and the next police officer turned up, and the next officer was informed of the status of the MIP, and the daughter went away. The police officer also, the first police officer went away, and after some time, the MIP said that she didn't need to see the doctor. She could go home on her own, and they went back to the police station. But when they went back to the police station, the second police officer didn't tell the duty officer that that woman is suspected to be an MIP. And thereafter, they were supposed to have an appropriate adult, like a social worker or family member, to accompany that MIP woman, but that didn't take place. So when Capo interviewed this officer, the officer said that the person sounded normal and she didn't sound like an NYP. But the guidelines state very clearly it would not be for the police officers to decide because an MIP might be able to communicate like a normal person. So we feel that that officer lacked sensitivity there. The other case involves a case being reported to the police, but when the frontline police turned up, the person became emotional, and the officer tried to calm the person down, but things really got out of hand, and the police officer invoked mental health ordinance and took the person to the hospital. And thereafter, the complainant lodged a complaint for what happened, and force was used to hold the person down. And the capo should have suspected that the person could have been an MIP. Now, that's because the frontline officer invoked the mental health ordinance to take the person to the hospital. And Capo wasn't aware of that.
So, according to the record, and then we found that the handling of this case is not that appropriate. So, and the third is very quite simple. The complainant filed a report, and the frontline officer tried to handle it, and then the person engaged involved was quite emotional, so the ordinance was invoked, and then was brought to the hospital. And well, a report was made, but unfortunately, he did not. The frontline officer did not specify that the ordinance was being invoked. So, all these cases illustrate that frontline officers need to be more sensitive to identify MIPs. So, after the talking with Capo, although that we have the guideline, but how to enhance the awareness and sensitivity of frontline officers, and while a series of measures were being proposed, like continuous training, and as well as how to remind the frontline officers to carefully take down the certain behaviors, and then other areas of attention. And the third SQII is other than the MIPs, for frontline officers, and that they might encounter the persons of different needs and different abilities, like visually impaired or hearing impairment. So this SQII proposed that when frontline officers takes statements from these categories of people, they should use the written form or in the video, so that in one case is that the eye gate of one of those complainant was broken, and then that is reported to the police, and then after they received that statement, they thought that they found that the statement has some mistake. And then like that in that written statement, and then they said that there are certain places that's wrongly presented, but in fact that complainant is visually impaired, and then that complainant needed to use a special equipment to read it. And in that statement, the statement that the complainant is visually impaired is not being taken noted. And so with all these cases, we suggest that maybe we need to take the statement other than the written form. So we propose that the visual, the testimony statement taking that should be adopted. And the fourth SQII is that for the people who have been arrested, and then if that tattoo is found on the body of that arrestee, and that photos should be taken of those body, and then in fact that photos should be taken if injuries was found on anyone who reported the police or being arrested. But in all these circumstances, if the injuries were found in sensitive parts, then the certain guidelines should be followed, like that were in the internal guideline. There is no clarification on the definition of sensitive parts. And the second the problem with that guideline is that there is no guideline on specify the gender of the frontline officers who, if the arrestee is a woman, then the frontline officers who take these pictures should also be of the same gender. So in that case, and then also with the CAPO's menu, we found that it's very clear what are the sensitive parts, and there are very clear definitions about it. And for all parts that is not usually exposed, defined it as sensitive parts. And in the CAPO guideline, it's clearly stated that officers of different gender should not take the photo or the pictures of the arrestee. So that in this case, we talk to the couple, and then they also looked at our observation and agree that they should clarify in the guidelines, and so that the frontline officers know what to do, and then to take pictures. And the last SQII is quite simple. Police in contact with the public usually will be in contact of personal data like their name, then the ID number and the address. So in one of these complaints, the frontline officer, who is a male, got some information from the women who is being stop and search. And then after having all this information, that this frontline officers call the person who has been searched and then obtain the information from that particular search. And then in fact in the internal guideline, there is very strict rules on how to make use of this information, personal data. So that in our investigation, the front officers admit that he did that, and then we also, the police force also discharge or fire this police officer under the ordinance. And trust is very important. And then so the couple and IPCC in handling this case, it's very straight, and so that all officers know that their ethics and their behavior need to follow the ordinance and all regulations, and all personal data are collected in their work should be used in accordance to what is regulated under the law. So this case is being shared with different officers, and so that this is a kind of examples alerting, and then actually raising the awareness of frontline officers in using personal data in different circumstances. So now it's the Q&A time, and please raise your hand and identify yourself before asking the question. Ming Paul, just now from the annual report, like there are the 79 involved in the 54 cases, and then some of them has been substantiated. That means that 54 is being followed up among the 64. So how many of complaints has been received but not followed up? I want the number of that. And the other is about unnecessary use of authority. And you just said there is one case of unnecessary abuse of authority. Can you give more details about that case? Is it the WhatsApp case by the police officer after getting the personal data of that woman? So, and the third is about the SQII, about MIPs, and then raising the sensitivity of frontline officers on MIPs. And is it based on the firing of arms by the police officers in April this year? Well, I want to clarify your first question. Is on page, which page?
No, page 40.
Page 44. There are 79 police officers that have to be followed up involving 54 cases. Now, for these 54 cases, are you actually talking about these the 64 that you were referring to earlier? Yes, indeed. In our working report, these cases have been established. So for the 79 police officers involved in 54 cases, they have been included as part of the 54 cases out of the 64 that I mentioned. Second question, can we interpret that to mean that there are 10 that are still outstanding, no follow-up? No, that's not the case. All of them have been followed up. Now we're talking about 54 cases. Are you with me? In the report, we refer to 64 allegations. An officer may be involved in more than one allegation. So there are 54 cases with 64 allegations. Does that answer your question? We're not talking about one allegation for one single case, and there may be 2 or more allegations in one case. So to address your question about the unnecessary use of authority, that's not about the frontline officer trying to make an appointment with the lady using WhatsApp. That's another case. Now, in that case, it involves a person outside the police station in Mongkok, and by mistake, the person was taken into the police station and by handcuff. And as it transpired, the person didn't commit any crime at all, and the person was released. So an officer was alleged to have used authority unnecessarily. Speaker not coming through. Right. In our working report, myself and my colleagues would be highlighting some of the cases. It's got nothing to do with the case that you referred to. It's not because of that particular case that caused us to make this SQII recommendation. We cover a number of areas in the SQII. If we believe that the members of the public might be affected for these MIPs, many a time it is likely that police officers on the front line will get in touch with them. We've seen cases before of this nature, so it is appropriate, in our opinion, to highlight this for the public. Now, there is another case about a visually impaired person, and this is something that would be of interest to the public, and we should let the public know that when frontline officers get in touch with the public, they may get in touch with people of different categories, and we would have regard to the needs of people in different strata of the community to enhance the quality of service and minimize complaints. It's against this background that we make these SQII recommendations. Not because of the case you refer to. Now, when the report was drafted, it may have predated the case that you refer to. Any further questions?
For this deadline one, what do you think about the new appointments to the Peter Wong of the HKU chairman? And do you have anything to share at the end of your 3-year term?
Before my chairman will respond, but I must say that this is an occasion for the IPCC, and Ms. Wong is now is the chair attending this function as the IPCC chairman. So I hope that we can all confine our questions to the work of IPCC, in particular the annual report of IPCC for this year.
Commercial radio. It was mentioned a moment ago that SQII has got nothing to do with the shooting case in North Point. Will the IPCC be examining what happened in the shooting by the police in North Point? Let me say this: now the case in North Point, it happened in September last year. It was documented in the media. There is a death inquest that will be held. Now, this is sub judice when a case is being processed in the court. Nobody would be speculating on anything at all. It's not appropriate for us to engage in any discussion. This is out of respect for the court. Now, any case which is sub judice will be handled like this until such time as the court has disposed of the case. Then the police, the media, and the IPCC we will not pass any judgment. It would be for the court to pass the judgment first. Any further questions on the report? If not, that's it for today's press conference. Thank you all very much.
多謝各位。